Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. I've been working recently with a teenage girl who came in because she was experiencing some depression and, worse than that, suicidal thinking. That is, she would think, I don't have to keep living. I could just take my life. And she would ponder, how would I do that? How can I take my life? And I'm starting to get to know her, and I ask, what's that about? And she said, well, I've been teased before and bullied some at school, and I think my father loves my sister better, and she named some other things in her life. And I said, I understand you've had some painful things in your life. I really get that. But you're thinking, I don't know, it's kind of like my toilet's running in the other room and needs to be fixed. So I'm going to burn the house down. And she looked at me and she said, I don't think that's necessary. It's like, yeah, you're probably right. But there's a light that's flickering in the kitchen. I think really it's time. We should, get the matches going and burn this thing down. And she understood my point that that's a terrible way of thinking. Why don't we learn a better way of thinking? I read something years ago that when somebody attempts suicide, they go to the hospital, and the typical line of treatment is to give them medication and to talk about how that was a bad idea, a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and kind of send them on their way. But what we've learned is that people who think like that actually think differently. They see suicide as an item on the menu of options. If things get too bad, they can always take their lives. What I want this young lady and everybody to know that does not belong on the menu of options. That is not an answer. If I think about all the times in my life that something hurt me, upset me, bothered me, if that was an option, I would have died back then and missed everything else in life. It's not one of the options you choose. So I want people to understand in my field too, that even when somebody is not acutely suicidal, if that's something that they think about, it needs to be removed permanently, and they need to learn a different way to process challenges in their lives, and they need different skills, and they need different problem-solving strategies. And if you'll excuse me, I can hear that toilet run.